Episode 3: The Royal Apothecary Apprentice, Falma de Medicis. A fanfare echoed through the mansion. "What's all the commotion?" "Master Falma, it's time for dinner." Latte, who had come to fetch him, hurried him along, saying, "Quickly, quickly." "I am getting hungry. Are you going to eat too, Latte?" "No matter what you're doing, you get hungry." "The servants eat after the masters have finished." "Oh, I see." Latte, a growing girl herself, was probably eager to get to her own dinner. That must be why she was in such a rush. As the family gathered in the dining hall, Falma saw their faces for the first time. "So, you're awake? You were sleeping so soundly, we decided to let you be." "Yes, thank you. I apologize for causing you to worry." The first to speak was a man with blue eyes and a golden goatee. He was tall and slender with a sharp gaze. He was the master of the house and Falma's father, Bruno de Medicis, age 37. He was a royal apothecary from a long line of apothecaries who exclusively diagnosed and prescribed medicine for royalty and high nobility. He also served as the head of the San Fleuve Imperial School of Pharmacy, located in the heart of the empire. He was a user of water attribute divine arts. In this world, distinguished nobles with special skills were granted a unique title of Venerable Peer. The ranks of nobility were Venerable Peer, Duke, Marquis, Count, Viscount, and Baron. In other words, as a Venerable Peer, his father was a very high-ranking aristocrat. "Well, I'm just so glad you've recovered. I was worried sick about what might happen." The next to speak was an elegant noblewoman with silver hair and blue eyes. This was his mother, Beatrice, age 34. She was from a prestigious noble family and was said to be a user of wind attribute divine arts. "Big brother, are you all better now? Does it not hurt anymore?" An adorable little girl with blonde, blue eyes and curly hair that cascaded down to her waist called out to Falma. This was his younger sister, Blanche, age 4. Though young, she was a user of the same water attribute divine arts as her father. "She's so beautiful at such a young age," Falma thought with certainty. "She'll undoubtedly grow up to be a stunning woman." Incidentally, he also had an older brother, Palais, age 16, who was not present. Falma felt a certain sympathy for his brother on account of his name. Palais was an elite student studying pharmacology at the world's most advanced medical university, the Novaraat Medical and Pharmaceutical University in a distant foreign land. Because it was a boarding school, he only returned home once or twice a year. The family gathered and took their seats at a large table in the spacious dining hall. His father used his water divine arts to pour clear water into the ceramic hand-washing basin set on the table. His sister, Blanche, expertly filled her own basin and then her mother's. Since her mother was a noble of a different attribute, creating water was her daughter's duty. Falma, feigning composure, also filled the basin in front of him with water and washed his hands. Bread, a knife, and a spoon were placed directly on the tablecloth. Blanche recited a prayer to the gods, and the family repeated it after her, beginning the meal. "Oh, this food is surprisingly good." Chicken bluette seasoned generously with spices, followed by a stew of wild hare and other dishes, were served one after another. Falma, remembering the table manners Latte had taught him, made a conscious effort to eat slowly. In his past life, he had been too busy to even spare time for meals, subsisting on things like Calorie Mate, so his unrefined palate served him well, even in this parallel world. "I worked so much, I never even had a proper meal." He savored the deliciousness of each bite, his tongue delighting in the flavors of this new world. "Falma, dear," his mother began a short while into the meal, her voice laced with concern. "Are you really all right, after being struck by lightning like that?" Falma noticed that among the family, only his mother was indulging in wine. His father, ever prepared for a call from a patient, was drinking water. It was clean water he had created himself, flavored with a squeeze of lemon. "My memory seems to be a little confused," Falma replied calmly, "but I'm sure it will come back soon. Please don't worry, Mother." Latte had told him to use formal language with his parents and to address them as father and mother. It was the form of address one would expect from the son of a great noble. Still, you had a close call. Your pulse had stopped completely. The potion I had you drink right after the lightning strike must have worked. His father interjected, looking satisfied. His confidence in his skills as an apothecary seemed to have deepened. Falma nearly choked. Why would you try to make someone drink a liquid potion when their heart had stopped and they weren't breathing? It was a miracle he hadn't suffocated. Well, maybe that potion was incredibly effective, though judging by the formula he'd seen in the book, he highly doubted it. The boy named Falma was said to have been a quiet and reserved person, so he would have to act the part for a while to avoid breaking character. He wondered what had happened to the original Falma. The story was that he had died when struck by lightning, so perhaps his memories had been erased as well. The thought was unsettling. He felt a pang of guilt, as if he had hijacked the boy's body. But the boy Falma was dead. His consciousness was gone. I'll live my life for the both of us as a way to honor his memory. In his heart, the former pharmacologist put his hands together in prayer for the boy Falma. But it won't do for your memory to be hazy. I'm worried. Make sure you rest properly and don't overdo it. If anything is troubling you, you can tell me. And if there's anything you'd like to eat, I'll have the cooks make it for you. Compared to Bruno's domineering patriarchal attitude, Beatrice's kindness was a welcome relief. Yes, thank you, Mother. That makes me happy. After exchanging a few more words with him, his mother didn't seem to notice any change in Falma's personality. He found that a bit strange in itself. But fortunately, his foresight in asking Lada about Falma's usual demeanor and way of speaking had paid off. You should rest for a few days, Bruno said, finishing his meal and dabbing his mouth with a napkin as if just remembering something. Will you be able to accompany me on the next house call? Falma wasn't sure what he was talking about and just offered a polite smile. Bruno, sensing his memory was still fuzzy, elaborated. It's a house call for Her Majesty. I remember now. I will accompany you. An apprentice apothecary was expected to observe their master's work as part of their training, and that included accompanying them on their duties as a royal apothecary. Apparently, the original Falma, despite being only 10 years old, had regularly observed and assisted his father with examinations. Usually, their house calls were for royalty and high nobility, but this time it was for his father Bruno's most distinguished patient, a person of the highest possible rank. When one said Her Majesty, it could only mean the Empress of the Sandfleve Empire, Elizabeth II. That's a huge responsibility. Falma felt a chill run down his spine, wondering what kind of medicine his father intended to prescribe for the Empress. He prayed he wouldn't end up being hanged for a failed treatment. By the way, the Joyride ointment I used on your arm burns today. What is its region of origin and how is it prepared? Here it comes, Falma thought. The pop quiz Lada warned me about. The main ingredient, the herb Timpara, originates from the Lahara region. It is prepared by boiling it overnight in holy water with Katessa oil, lizard's eyeballs, and powdered bat wings on the night of a full moon. After purifying one's body and offering a prayer, it is then sun-dried for the next 3 days, and the dried substance is ground into a fine powder. Without a moment's hesitation, the knowledge from the book he had just reviewed flowed effortlessly from his lips. He had borrowed the memory that the boy Falma had memorized. He had blurted out the preparation method without thinking, but as a pharmacologist with a PhD from modern Japan, he felt an indescribable sense of patheticness. However, he had no choice if he wanted to get through this situation. Getting kicked out of the mansion was not an option. You remembered, as expected of my son. His father, oblivious to the circumstances, nodded grandly in satisfaction. Incidentally, that suspicious ointment would cause a rash if left on the skin for too long, so the correct way to use it was for only a short period. In that respect, Falma had removed the herbs early on and washed his arm clean with water. He had unknowingly acted in a way that pleased his father. Very well. If there are no particular issues with your health, may we resume your lessons with Eleonora tomorrow? I don't know that name. Later, when he checked with Lada, he learned who she was. Eleanor Bonafoy. She was his father's top apprentice and Falma's private tutor. The beautiful first-class apothecary, age 16. Her lustrous silver hair was parted and swept to one side, giving her a cool, refreshing impression. Her matte, pale blue, long, tight dress skirt had a daring slit for ease of movement, and her shoulders were bare. She rested her ample bust, which was impressive enough to make him avert his eyes, on her folded arms, pushed up her thin, silver-framed glasses, and stared at Falma. Her fashion sense is so free, and they have glasses? Falma had assumed that if this world was equivalent to medieval Europe, the clothing culture would be similar, but that wasn't necessarily the case. It seemed the de Medicis family, with their medieval attire, were simply conservative. Her outfit was more casual, like something a character from a fantasy world would wear. This really is another world, Falma thought, impressed. Is that so? I think you're just imagining things. You're being so distant and using formal language. I should have gotten intel on how to talk to Ellen, Falma reflected. He had assumed that since she was his teacher, formal language was the way to go. How should I talk to her? Is she the kind of teacher you can be friends with? Their meeting place was a white, stone gazebo-like structure in the center of a garden on a river island that ran alongside the mansion's grounds. The dome-shaped roof of the gazebo blocked the sun, and a gentle, pleasant breeze blew through the garden. Beneath the gazebo were a bench and a round table, creating an elegant outdoor learning space. The two of them were sitting there, facing each other. This was his father's private medicinal herb garden. Falma had worried that having an herb garden on a river island would make it susceptible to floods. But since the de Medicis family were users of water divine arts, his father used his powers to prevent the river from flooding and washing the garden away. However, since they cultivated only expensive herbs, it was a target for thieves. Of course, to protect the de Medicis family's assets, the herb garden was under tight security even at night. Before their meeting, Falmer had taken a look around the garden and had discovered familiar herbs from his old world, including plants used in Chinese medicine. There were also unknown herbs unique to this parallel world. I'll talk normally, Professor Eleanor. Should I call her Eleanor? Or maybe Professor Bonnefoy? The conversation, filled with such probing thoughts, quickly died out. It's Ellen, isn't it? And still, something's not right. All right, I'll confess. I was struck by lightning and my memory is hazy. Geez, you should have just said so sooner. I knew it, Ellen pouted, her lips jutting out. It's true that there are old tales about people's personalities changing after being struck by lightning. You might go back to normal eventually, but if you don't, I guess it can't be helped. We should just be thankful you're alive. She stood up and, turning back, a smile graced her lips. Her translucent smile was dazzling. She walked out of the gazebo and headed toward the riverbank. Falma followed her. For today's lesson, instead of a pharmacology lecture, let's check your divine arts. Ellen asked Falma if he remembered all of his divine techniques. She had taught the previous Falma numerous divine arts. He had apparently been a quick and brilliant student. Well, I can probably manage to create water and put it in a cup, Falma said jokingly. Ellen pressed her hand to her forehead. Okay, I get it. You really don't remember anything. Falma picked up his writing tools and listened intently to Ellen's lecture.